you're not going to want to miss this interview with Brittany Cano. She is an experience, and she's on the front lines currently as a nurse in the hospitals. She is going to tell you her and her husband's experience. He's in respiratory therapy. Thank you for joining our podcast, The Stamp of Approval. During the pandemic, we're providing many podcast episodes with a variety of topics with some of the very best professionals in their fields during these uncertain times so you can feel better. What we want to do is we want to help you through the entire process. As you know, we own small businesses, my husband and I, and today we have Brittany Cano, and she's the owner of Faithful Fitness by Brittany. She's also a nurse lead, holistic wellness company that specializes in guiding women into loving relationships with themselves and with life through wellness and fitness, which I think all of us need today. And always. So she's a registered nurse of 12 years, a personal trainer, and a health and life coach. So her and her husband are actually right now on the front lines and traveling nurse in hospitals. So welcome, Brittany. I'm so happy to have you here today. You're in a hotel room right now, right?
Well, we're actually in an Airbnb. Yeah, it's we keep joking we're gypsies. Whenever we travel, first we a lot of times don't know where we're going to stay, and then everything falls out and works out. So, yeah.
So you are right now, you are traveling. You're in Baltimore currently?
We are, yep, working in the hospital.
Okay, and so you're there for how long?
Initially it was 4 weeks, but they extended us an additional 4 weeks. So for a total of 8 weeks as of now.
Okay, and tell us exactly, I mean, what are you seeing and what are you doing? And are you working crazy hours?
I work in ICU, so anybody who works in ICU or been in an ICU knows that it's the sickest of the sick people in the hospital. So we are seeing people who are sick, obviously, with COVID-19. And then we're working a reasonable amount. I know some nurses who did the full 7 days on, like 21 days straight. We're not doing that. We're working about 48 hours a week. So we do get some days off, thank God, because it is important to take care of yourself, especially while you're working in such feudal environments.
Right, right. And so tell us the environment that you're working in. What did you see? What are you seeing? Are you seeing, now Baltimore, they have not opened phase 1 yet?
From my understanding, no, they're being really conscientious. They want to wait until the numbers trend downward and stay downward on the trend. And we keep having increase in cases, increase in death. So they're waiting until it seems safe to open up for phase 1.
So what's happening? Are you getting just as many or more cases in the hospital currently?
We're still seeing a lot of cases. We had some open beds like yesterday morning when I came in, and we ended up with multiple admissions with really, really sick people, and about half of them had COVID-19. So we've not seen in the ICU, at least where I am, a drop in positive cases.
So when they come in, they're at different stages of sickness, or are all the people having breathing problems, and do you guys have enough room for these people?
Where I am right now, we have enough room. And this hospital particularly has been really prepared and trained. Like, that's why we're here. So if we don't have enough ICU beds, we have enough critical care staff to take care of patients in areas of the hospital that normally wouldn't. And then other areas that are closed, like the surgical, people aren't really, well, they're starting to in some places now do elective surgeries, but we have the nursing staff from that area also there to help. So as far as help goes, right in this moment, we have enough help. I know that here they have opened up the convention center to be able to take 900 patients with COVID-19. So they've prepared in that sense. And as far as when people come in, they are at different levels of sickness. We have some people come in. We had a guy, for example, who came in, was from a nursing home. He came in with urinary symptoms. They tested him because he's in a high risk environment. he was positive for COVID-19, although he didn't have the typical symptoms that we think of, the respiratory symptoms, fever, that kind of stuff. But then we have people who come in who are full out crashing and on life support. We have people in their 30s who've been on the ventilator for weeks now, who don't have any underlying conditions.
Okay, yeah, which is, the thing is it's so scary because so many people out there are telling us different things, right? So we don't know, we're not talking to people like yourself so much on, on the front lines of being a nurse. I mean, especially because your husband also being in respiratory. So you guys working together, traveling, and that you're traveling for the COVID-19 and working. And like you said, you're working in ICU, right? So you're seeing it. And the things that we have, the questions that I look at and that I always have is, how scary is it? Is it pretty scary? And what ages are you seeing? Are you seeing, we're always hearing that, it's, the older people and people with underlying conditions and things like that. What are you seeing there?
I would love to think that was true. And maybe a high percentage are people who have comorbidities and are older. But there's kids getting it now, and there's kids getting sick and dying. So that whole it's old people condition's not true. And everybody's at risk. And I'm not one to be all big into the fear motive, but everybody's at risk. And then you think, well, people who are healthy can't get it. I worked with a doctor yesterday, 43 years old, and he was one of the first people, at least that they knew of in the healthcare system at this particular hospital, the beginning of March, who got it, and two of his kids, I believe, got it. And then like I said, we have people in their 30s who don't have any listed conditions that they knew of, no medical conditions, and they're on life support. So yes, we do see the most critical cases, but no one's exempt from catching it. No one's exempt from getting really sick from it, although there are things that we can do to, support our outcomes.
Right, and that's really what we're going to get into talking about today for all of our listeners. And so I don't want you to think that we're headed down. I want you to know the real of what's happening, but we're going to really help you in talking to Brittany beforehand on really what you can do to help yourself, as we're opening up the different phases, how to take care of your bodies, what to do. So we're going to really get into those details, but I wanted you to hear what's happening. Are you seeing less deaths from it? Are we getting better at taking care of it, or is that no?
I think from the very beginning, we're starting to have some knowledge about it, but things that would be true in a typical, we'll say in the beginning, they called it ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's what they were classifying COVID-19 as. Now they're not so sure, things that go, no, it doesn't. Sometimes there's a pathway with the disease and what things to do to treat it to make it better. This isn't necessarily like that. What applies to one person varies to the other. And from day to day, the patients fluctuate in how they're doing. And sometimes just the slightest change, and we'll say the ventilator, can just send them totally just crashing down, which is scary because normally you may have a little dip and we'll say oxygen, just because that's something people can get, oxygen level. Mm-hmm. You may see a huge drop with a small ventilator change. And I think there's just not enough information yet. There's not enough research because it is so new.
Okay. So do we have enough equipment? Do we have enough ventilators and beds and things like that? So are there enough things that can take care of these people? Are you seeing enough?
The places that I've worked have been really proactive on being prepared. Okay. But that being said, if we had a huge increase in numbers like New York City did, I don't know how that would look. Right now, we use one N95 mask a shift, which before COVID-19, if you had a patient with TB or influenza who would be on these same precautions, you just throw those masks out every time you use them. And now we're keeping the same mask all day, and then at the end we recycle the mask. So I'm not personally sure if it's because we know we only have a limited supply, or if it's just to be careful in case we do run out, because initially people were running out of protective wear.
So currently for the patients, we're looking, at least where you're at, that there's enough beds and everything is to help them. But for you as a nurse, you're having to use one mask a day instead of each use. You used to throw away one each use. You used to throw away one.
We get multiple surgical masks, which are like the masks most people are wearing to go out to the store, but those don't have as much protection as the N95. So it is crazy.
Yeah, so you get only one of those a day, and then you have to recycle them just in case later on that you need them. Is that what you're telling me?
Right. You get one per patient, one N95 per patient. And then obviously if it got soiled or something, you could get a new one. And then the surgical mask, you get multiple ones because they have us wearing a surgical mask over that to kind of protect it. So those we get more of. I guess maybe there's more surgical masks out there. But yeah, before we just throw all this stuff away, you'd always get a whole new everything every time you went into a room. And now we're saving it at the end of the shift and we get, one of some of the things.
Wow. So you were talking also about they're trying when they're testing people twice, right, to make sure that they're negative. So talk to us about that. What happened?
They're even testing people 4 times and keeping them in isolation to be careful. But there's been cases of people being negative, the second one negative. So then they go off of these precautions and they're not improving. They're not getting any better. Chest x-ray doesn't look good. They're still having COVID-19 kind of symptoms. So they get retested again and now they're positive. So
as being on the front lines as a nurse or, your husband respiratory therapist or whatever, you guys because now you're not treating them, right? Like they're still sick. So you guys have to really think about everybody being sick all the time, correct? And
yes, like the best case scenario I would say is wear your N95 all the time and your shield all the time, the plastic shield all day long. But that's super, it's anybody who's listening and known what it's like to have an N95 on. It sucks to wear that mask for very long. It tears up your skin. It tears up your face. You're really rebreathing your own air.
Yeah. And I really want to thank you for being, without you guys, we couldn't be doing what we are today. It's unbelievable. So now that we're opening up in phases, what do you think about that?
I think that we need to do it slowly and really assess what's happening with the numbers as we open and make sure numbers are not exponentially increasing in phase 1 before we go to phase 2. I don't think it would be safe to just open up phase 1 and already have our predetermined dates. Okay, we're going to do phase 1 for 2 weeks. We're going to do. I think we really need to make sure that we are keeping it under control, because if we don't, we're going to end up with we're just going to end up where we started with and end up collapsing the healthcare system.
Yeah.
At least that's from my understanding and what I believe will happen.
Yeah. And so what can we do? What can people do as they are getting out there and we are opening? So what can people do to try to protect themselves? And there should be some people that aren't even going out now, right?
Yeah. If you have, you're predisposed to disease, especially anything respiratory, cardiac, those kind of things, or you haven't been feeling well, you should stay home and let somebody else go out for you. There's lots of delivery systems in place. And then when we do go out, keep your distance from people. Keep the 6-foot distance from people. Wear a mask. I know that the regular masks are not protecting from the virus completely, but at least if everybody has a mask, if there's some barrier there, it's a reminder, to stay protected. Wash your hands, bring hand sanitizer with you, use soap and water, really scrub your hands. It's so simple, but makes such a difference. Please don't be those people with gloves on in the store, touching everything, touching your cell phone, digging in your purse, pulling out your car, getting into your car with the gloves on, because there's really no sense in having the gloves on and you've touched everything. At least you could use hand sanitizer throughout the store a few times and wash your hands when you get it before you get into the car. That kind of
You
thing.
don't believe in gloves at all then?
I mean, no, not really. I think you need to, I do believe in gloves, obviously. I wear gloves all the time in the hospital, all the time. I change my gloves, I don't know how many times in the room with the patient, but we're trained how to change gloves. So if you're going to change gloves in the grocery store, you'd be changing your gloves so many times because you're cross-contaminating by touching so many different surfaces, touching your hair, touching your purse, touching your kid. So you might as well just hand sanitize and try to limit what you touch in the store besides
So
what
you're
you.
saying when you go grocery shopping, instead, definitely wear the mask, okay? Just kind of keeps your hands off your face or whatever, and kind of reminds you, even if it's not doing a whole heck of a lot, right? But as far as gloves, not using gloves, but keeping hand sanitizer with you while you're going through the store.
Yeah, do that and try to pick up what you need and not touch things that you don't need to or lean up against stuff because they're finding it can live on surfaces for quite a while. Be mindful. Be mindful. Just don't touch on everything like we used to. Think about, hey, do I really want to pick that up kind of thing.
Yeah, so just pick it up, put it, once you're doing that, make sure you aren't touching your face. Every few things that you're picking up, go ahead and put some sanitizer.
Get in your purse, maybe sanitize your hands, then get in your purse.
Yeah.
Or have the person push the cart and the other person be the one who picks everything up. If you go to the grocery store with somebody.
Okay, and then, so it's not like doing hand sanitizer every single time, but throughout, before you're touching your face and things like that, you're.
Right, yeah. You don't have to I picked up an apple, let me scrub my hands. Oh, I picked up the eggs, let me scrub my hands. Not that much unless you really want to, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. How about though, taking your stuff home? Do you believe that you should put it in, like they say, quarantine before you bring it into your house, or what do you think about that?
I think if you feel inclined to do that, then do that. It has been proven that it can live on surfaces, so I would say that's safest practice. Personally, I don't do that, but that's like my own set of beliefs that I don't like. For me, I would feel paranoid and anxious, and I don't have that anxiety around it. But I do feel like if you're doing that and that makes you feel safe, like you are potentially reducing your risk of getting the virus because it does live on surfaces.
Okay. So tell us now what we wanted to get to. After now we've heard, it is, you guys, it is still very serious. So take it serious. Take care of yourselves. Take care of other people out there. Stay home if you're sick. If you are compromised in any way, make sure you're having somebody else go out for you. As we open in phases, just be very conscientious of what you're doing, and when you're going shopping and things like that. Brittany's talking about not necessarily wearing your gloves because you're just contaminating on everything that you're putting your hands on, but actually bringing in hand sanitizer and utilizing that, and obviously keeping your hands off your face and things like that. Now what we're really going to talk about is how to protect yourself, how to keep healthy, what you should be doing to do so. So, and your specialty is this, right? Your health.
Yes, it's wellness care.
Yeah.
In the hospital, it's like sick care, because people are sick. It's important that we are focusing on our wellness and those things that we can do to support our immune system. As basic as it sounds, eating more fruits and vegetables, foods that are natural in the colors of the rainbow. So getting a variety of those colors, so think like red pepper, yellow pepper, cucumber, and so forth, just so that's what color of the rainbow means, really helps. Nutrition's huge. Nutrition can make such a huge difference in your overall health, in your immunity. Stress. So if watching the news every single day is stressing you out, you don't need to watch the news every day. You don't. You're not going to miss anything if you don't watch the coronavirus update today and tonight and tomorrow. So it's okay to limit your exposure, or maybe you only just every few days get an update. Whatever those things are that are overly stressing you, reduce them or totally cut back on them. I know it might sound like common sense, but it can make a huge difference. And although this is a serious virus, more people do die from driving cars every year than from the virus. So media does, play a lot into the worst case scenario. So I don't want anybody to be living in a fearful life because of coronavirus, but it just needs to really be taken seriously. And these are things that even before coronavirus, ideally we were doing: eating more fruits and vegetables, taking care of our well-being, reducing our stress, moving more. It's important. My husband had a really good point about how important cardio exercise is for the capacity of the lungs, really getting the full volume of the lungs that you get through cardio. And coronavirus does affect the respiratory system, so even more so important that you're getting in movement and exercising.
Right. And as we talked about earlier, your husband is a respiratory therapist. So as we're talking about, like he said, doing more cardio and just, so you got moving, just to take care of yourself to try to prevent the virus, right? Or being able to recover quickly from it as opposed to getting really sick. Eating fruits and vegetables, taking care of your health, eating well, doing cardio, right? What about supplements? Do you believe in any supplements at all or anything like that?
I do essential oils. They're plants, things that come from plants, like really plants are medicinal. There's so many benefits. Personally, I do some things like I take Juice Plus because it's fruits and vitamins and capsules, and I'll do teas, that kind of thing. There's like elderberry syrup if you're getting symptoms. There's different things that I'll do if I feel like, oh, I'm kind of feeling like something's coming on. There's this other stuff I get from the health food store, like ACT immunity. So different things I'll do to like help if I feel like something's coming on. And then just daily I'll do essential oils and the Juice Plus because it's fruits and vegetables, and fruits and vegetables like are proven, like there's so much science behind fruits and vegetables being great for our overall health and oxidative stress and prevention of all diseases.
Right. And then do you think still it's really important not to be around other people? Do you think as we're opening up in phases? I mean, what do you feel about that?
I think it's okay to be around people in smaller groups, and it, like as an individual, we have the responsibility not to be going out in public if we feel sick. I've heard of people flying from Colorado to Florida knowing they were positive for coronavirus, and that is just plain neglect, and you're risking killing people. So if you don't feel good, like stay at home. But I think it's okay to be in small groups at this point. Like we're social beings.
Yeah.
These kind of situations have occurred in history. Like we do get to go back to a way of life. It may not be the way it was before, at least not for quite some while. But yeah, I do think it's okay. And also another thing is in healthcare, we're all not 6 feet apart. We're computer by computer, or we're pulling patients up in bed, or like saving somebody's life close together. So
yeah,
that's like, that's a scenario where people are not 6 feet apart. And fortunately, a lot of the healthcare workers are still really healthy. And unfortunately, there are still plenty of healthcare workers who've caught coronavirus. So I think just in small groups until we really see what evolves as we start to implement the phases.
Yeah. And that's good. What do they tell you? Do they tell you anything in the hospital of how to keep yourself safe?
Wash your hands, wear your PPE.
Yeah.
That's really what we, at least the information that I've received, like medically wise. Yeah. And then a lot of the other stuff I know because that's what I do. But yeah, that's a big thing. And if you feel symptoms, they want you to report them and they'll test you. They are getting more and more like proactive with testing. And in the beginning, you had to have like check all these boxes to be able to get tested. And now I know that in Martin County, they just said free testing, which I don't know what criteria you have to meet, but it's less of a bar to have to get tested as a healthcare worker. So if I went in and said, oh my God, my throat's hurting, they'd probably test me. Whereas if you said, oh, my throat hurts a little bit and you're not in healthcare, you might not get a test yet.
Well, here in Boca Raton, I know a couple people that didn't have any symptoms at all, and they were able to get tests.
Okay. So yeah.
I think it depends on where you're at and what.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go get tested because, as we were talking about earlier, I think I might have had it at a very, at the very beginning, at the beginning of March, when I was having a little bit of, but it wasn't bad. Just a little bit of breathing, but I did have a fever, and so I could have had it, and I was around somebody whose husband did have it. So anyway, everybody's different, but definitely take care of yourselves, especially as we're opening. So as we end this, just tell people, first of all, I want your information because of what you do. So tell people what you do again, besides obviously being on the front lines right now as a nurse and taking care of all these people in ICU and everything else. So you're seeing it on the front lines of exactly what's going on today with COVID on May 12th, 2020. And also, we talked about taking care of yourselves and, being careful as we are opening up the country and things like that. She recommends that it doesn't go too quickly, that we do watch the numbers and things like that. She's in Baltimore right now. She's traveling with her husband, who's a respiratory therapist. And they have not opened up in Baltimore and things like that, but, they're cautious, which a lot of people are. And then, to be really trying to take care of yourself, stay healthy. If you aren't feeling well, obviously don't go out, and, think about others all the time of not getting it and things like that. But tell us what you do and kind of to end this up and how people can reach out to you.
I have a holistic wellness company, which actually was inspired by my own journey in health and fitness, because I used to struggle really, really bad with that. And then also working in ICU and seeing so much disease being preventable. So I started a company. So I help people with getting into an exercise routine, as well as really loving themselves where they're at and celebrating who they are, where they are, and implementing healthy lifestyle changes. So that's through nutrition and stress reduction, meditation.
That's awesome. And
what? Sorry.
How do people reach out to you if they want to talk to you more about it?
Okay, so you can find me at faithfulfitnessbybrittany.com, as well on Facebook as Brittany Cano. And I lead wellness retreats as well. And with travel right now, things have been different. I actually had a retreat that was going to be in Costa Rica June 2nd, but because
of
COVID,
my gosh,
I know, we can't go. So it's next year for the big retreat. So I do that, and then I do stuff virtually. So people are listening to this all over the country. Obviously, now so many things are virtual, and we can make it happen even if you live across the continent.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Brittany, I thank you. I thank all of our listeners today.